Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. I am Swati Negi Chibbar. A lot has been happening and not happening in the world of education, post the outbreak of COVID-19 and the subsequent introduction of India's new education policy 2020. Let's take a look at some of these which make our top stories.
Delhi University admissions start today, go fully online. Many states yet to decide school reopening dates, unsure due to COVID-19 situation. Karnataka announces 3-week midterm holiday for schools from October 12th to October 30th. Schools to not reopen in Maharashtra before Diwali, Education Minister Varsha Gaikwad. LSR records highest cutoffs at 100% for 3 courses. No need to spend dollars on a foreign degree anymore, Ramesh Pokhriyal. IIM alumni Shrikant Datar becomes the Dean of Harvard, second consecutive Indian to achieve so. Modi wants Oxford, Harvard and Yale to open campuses in India. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. Political Science and BCom Honours, toughest to get in at Delhi University. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
These were the top headlines from the world of education. Now let's move on to our special series on the class of 2020, where we engage with students, teachers, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic. With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each of us rethink, reboot, reset, reformat before we rewind and then rebuild a new future which will become the country and the world's new normal. The only thing constant, they say, in life is change. And the only thing certain, I assure you, in a pandemic particularly, is uncertainty. So the situation is ambiguous, apprehensive, and uncertain. We at Edumate.tv are building up a repository of information, of views, analysis, opinions, to submit a white paper to the Government of India. We talk in what we call our Triple C, our candid COVID classroom, with people across the cross-sections to try and figure out the new normal. This is yet another episode. It's episode number 52 of our new normal. It's brought to you by Education, an organization which looks at education ahead. And I must say, with great pride, that it's powered by one of India's better-known universities situated in the north, IMS Ghaziabad. As always, we've got a distinguished set of luminaries to talk to us, to debate, to discuss, to innovate, to ideate, but at the end, to collaborate. Let's take a look at our guest list for today. Lots of stories, lots of discussions, lots of opinions on how to make India self-reliant. Then opinions are important, particularly from those who've been highly accomplished in every single thing that they've chosen to do. One such distinguished gentleman is Professor Alok Pandey, who heads IMS Ghaziabad. Over to you, Dr. Pandey, for your views on what is very critical to this environment, post-COVID, for education as well as the country at large.
Whatever has happened in last 3-4 months and whatever has happened last a decade or so, I think last 20 years or so, 2 decades, has been very exciting. But a lot needs to be done. If you look at it, we had discussed yesterday that the growth of entrepreneurship in India in terms of number of firms was very slow up to say 2006. It went up a little post 2006, and by 2016 the growth is around 12% per annum in terms of number of companies formed in India. We also now, although we are among the lowest in the world in terms of per 1,000 individuals, companies formed is 0.6, whereas it is 12 approximately in US and UK. We have done fair amount of work in bringing about a new Companies Act, changing the way companies are incorporated. We've got a new Ministry of Corporate Affairs which took over from Department of Company Affairs in 2010-11. And we've done a fair amount of work by creating right infrastructure for managing and regulating companies. Now is the time that we look back and see why a country which basically revered entrepreneurs has been slow in terms of promoting entrepreneurship. And the answer lies in right educational practices. So now is the time to start talking about big companies. And we should talk about big companies would actually mean manufacturing companies. You cannot have service companies in a big, they cannot be too big. So why? Because I told you that as the work from home happened, the first companies to vacate real estate spaces were the service companies. Remember, it's very difficult for a manufacturing company to vacate a real estate. And what manufacturing companies do, they give you a long-term perspective for the economy. So as I told, as the data suggests, in 2018, we created around 1,25,000 new companies. But 85,000 of them were service companies, which are basically small companies, which would normally have people 5, 10, 15, 20. Very few companies can go up to the level of Infosys or Wipro. So now is the time for our education system to gear up, prepare engineers for the manufacturing sector, for the policymakers to gear up, to create right environment and create ease of doing business across country, so that manufacturing flourishes in this country. That is the only way we can counter our biggest competitor, not competitor, the biggest economic powerhouse of the world, China, which is now the factory to the world. Let's take a vow. In next 10 years, India will become factory to the world. And that will happen if our youngsters start thinking in that direction, and they start thinking in terms of working for factories rather than preparing merely for civil services examination and working like a clerk throughout their life, hankering for power, politicking for nothing, and only looking at their pension funds, provident fund accounts, and the savings and the number of houses they've built. Countries are built on people who work for the nation, who are conscientious, who work for building a nation. Now is the time for the education system to gear up to create nation builders.
In comparison to going directly into entrepreneurship, what is an MBA as a career option post-pandemic?
Sir, I have a question that how to keep yourself updated with the ongoing change in the working environment.
Let me tell you, the conventional education up to graduation level in India is a 5-question education. If you give an exam, you don't give an exam, there'll be no change in your quality. You basically have been taught to work for only exams. You study only when you give an exam. You buy a copy called a guidebook from some shop. You read those and you give an exam. You got 12 questions, 5 come up, and if you prepare 5 only, you'll be great enough. So this is a rote learning. You do not inculcate critical thinking. I believe over a period of time, we should inculcate critical thinking at the graduate level students also. So, business schools tell you, and they also bring you close to entrepreneurs. We've got 600 plus students who already become CEOs and MDs, for instance, since 1990. Not just my institute. There are several institutions which would help you, and students to choose nowadays due to Corona, institutions probably nearby are best for you. Institutions who have a facility to help you, institutions which you can afford. Look at the infrastructure. We've got 50 full-time faculty, and look at all the parameters. But what I'm saying is, conventional education up to graduation is slightly difficult in terms of, it basically pushes you into rote learning, does not promote critical thinking, which is very important as an entrepreneur. The other 2 questions, declining job market. There is no decline in the job market. Job market is changing. It is requiring a different skill set. For example, we are talking about big data analytics. We have a new program on that with us. We are talking about now infuse. Our MCA faculty, Dean Academics, Professor Sachin Malhotra is in charge of it. He basically is now dabbling into something called big data analytics, which is the big new which creates futuristic jobs for industry 4.0, right? The second one is the other question was that how should you keep yourself updated? Remember, the only way to keep yourself updated is to keep your eyes open and your minds open, and realize that learning should happen till you are alive. Remember, the only opposite of birth is death, and the only certain thing after birth is death. In between you something called life, and being alive at every moment is an important idea. And how do you stay alive? By learning continuously. Someone who now machines also learn, and I am a part of exchange system, and I know 10 to power 9 orders being punched at National Stock Exchange. Let me tell you, MCX Mumbai is 84 lakh crore exchange, which manages all commodities in the country. It's got 94% market share. It runs on a fantastic software base. Machines learn, people trade through machines, artificial intelligence is in. So the only two people now are learning are machines, like computers and human beings. If you don't learn, you are neither machine nor a human being. So you are a piece of furniture. So please keep learning. For that, keep healthy.
To make the country Atmanirbhar, we all need to be Atmanirbhar first. There's a concept in economics, we call it disguised unemployment, which basically says that we all are keeping doing, but at the end of the day, nothing come out. We all seems to be working. Now, my point is that instead of doing, we should all contribute. We should all contribute. If you look at the third pillar of this Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign started by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is the system. System does not comprises of people from Mars. System comprises people like us, the parents, the students, the government, the society at large. Now, what we have to do, we have to change our mindset. The mindset from a conventional teaching learning process to a kind of a different set, like from a conventional manufacturing system to digital India. Let me tell you, the jobs are not shrinking. Professor Pandey has aptly highlighted, the jobs are not shrinking. It is shifting from one sector to another sector. It is shifting from a conventional sector to a sector like digital India, we call it Industry 4.0. So my dear students, let me tell you now how to update yourself. Now this is the best time for you. This is blessings in disguise for you. Everything at your fingertips now. Sitting at home, you can approach to any universities across the world, any big sorts across the globe. Now the knowledge is at your doorstep. Now it is up to you how you take the advantages of this knowledge is being there at your doorstep. My dear students, like Professor Pandey said, that you have to utilize your time by reading, and by taking advantages of the knowledge which is flowing across in front of you.
Let's not only focus on what is current requirement. So aptly said that, people are, the firms are working towards making masks, making all sort of requirements which are current requirements. Please don't get into that masses. Think out of the box. What will be the requirement after once the COVID is out? These products will become stale. So then you'll again be stuck. So let's think of something which will be, it could be, again, as I say always, look into something which you find today which is not working, but post-COVID will be more working.
So first, let me address the question. As an entrepreneur, you require to have a good, decent sense of how business works. What you can sell, what is required by the market, how you can earn your profits. You need to have a very basic fundamental understanding of it. One way of doing it is, of course, dirtying your hands, getting into a business directly and learning on the job. That is one way of doing it. But once you have gone through a program which is well structured as a PGDM program from, let's say, IMS Ghaziabad or any reputed B school, then you have a heads up over other people who are trying to get into an entrepreneurship mode, because you have been walked through all the functional knowledge, domain knowledge that you require to run a business successfully. That is the first advantage. So you enter into entrepreneurship with a lot of confidence, a lot of case studies that you have exposed yourself to how people have built up successful businesses. So So you will have a clear-cut edge over people who could not have this experience. That is point number one. Point number two, once you have entered into a reputed B schools like IMS Ghaziabad, or let's say I am Ahmedabad or I am Lucknow, places like these, you build a network of peers. That network is not just limited to your colleagues in the classroom. That also includes your juniors. That includes your teachers who will act as consultants to you once you are facing problems. That also includes a large number of alumni when you are entering into a B school with a legacy. B school which has a large history. They have a large pool of successful alumni who can be of good use to you once you are stuck somewhere.
Should entrepreneurship be included as a compulsory subject along with business studies at senior secondary level?
My question is, won't Atmanirbhar have negative impact on India's global relationship?
Is it worthwhile to pursue MBA or any other master's degree in this or the upcoming year, as almost all the industries are facing slowdown and the companies are not hiring the way they used to?
Entrepreneurship is not something which is learned in schools, but still, in other countries, the education system is such that students are divided into different categories, like Singapore and Germany. So they decide that this person is good for a particular technical trade, and this person has a higher scholastic ability. He'll read, write, and do other things. And this person is good. It's got. If your intelligence is only measured in terms of how you write and how you speak, the world would be a very, very sad place. It's also about how you dance. It's also about your intelligence, where your psychomotor abilities are tested. So it's not wrong to pick up a trade like a technical trade. It's not wrong to pick up anything else apart from studying. So I'm not saying that you cannot become an entrepreneur by studying. In fact, some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world are college dropouts. So you don't study entrepreneurship. That is one part of it. You need to be careful that our system should be such that in the school level itself, we try to segregate students who can be on their own. Remember, there's a wonderful book, why A grade student work for C grade students and B grade students work for government.
Vocal for local is essentially a call to tap into our vast MSME network. We have MSMEs that employ over 1100 lakh people across the country. So I feel, this call is essentially to, tap into MSMEs, and they are in a very good position to dominate our manufacturing and production activities. Now that's provided, like Professor Pandey said, that this is a collaborative effort. They require some short-term and long-term support. Short-term to get out of, this COVID scenario and the recession that will follow. They require, things like wage subsidy support, credit support to, give them the finances to pay their workers, as well as invest in, procuring raw materials and other technology.
Whenever we talk about entrepreneurship means it's a struggle, it's a hardship, it's a dedication, it's a commitment, right? If you talk about a subject matter of entrepreneurship, the basic principle says you have to take the risk. You should be well versed with taking the risk. Do you think that the owner of Cafe Coffee Day, Mr. Siddharth, who committed suicide last year, he was not aware of taking risk? It is not the case. And keeping all these points aside, let me tell you, at IMS Ghaziabad, we do encourage entrepreneurship. We do have a subject on entrepreneurship, and also we do have a society called the Entrepreneurial Student Society.
And nobody knows when this COVID is going to get over, when the world will recover from this COVID scenario. So as our director sir says, learn to live with COVID. So that is one thing, right? And we are not going to wait for 2 years, and then we'll start afresh. So we need to learn to live with it. Second aspect of the question is unemployment and job market. As Director Sir and Tapanji has already taken their views. You've taken their views. I'll take it forward. Let me put across some points. I had a discussion with all my students during their final year dissertations, And let me give you some scenarios during the talk which I got from them. Almost is the wrong word. All of our students, I'm talking about IT area, right? All of our students, they are working in organizations, they are getting paid. None of them has been, asked to leave.
Okay, so Arushi wants to know, the HRD ministry has made it mandatory for colleges and universities to conduct final semester exams by the end of September. In such a short period of time, how do you think students will acquire the skills relating to their respective subject without practical experience of learning? Do you think there will be any skill development in students through these exams who wish to go for jobs or higher education where they need to prove themselves? And Akash wants to know, since most of the foreign universities, especially in US, have decided to shift learning online, is it viable to go ahead and take admissions in those colleges? Cons arising out of virtual learning and the absence of physical presence in the premise. And Arushi wants to know, what are the digital skills that we should consider learning which are deemed to be almost a necessity in the post-pandemic world?
हमारा ये था कि अब क्या करें, इसमें प्रॉब्लम कोविड की प्रॉब्लम है, तो हमने अपना कोर्स भी कंप्लीट करवाया है, लेकिन समस्या तो है। अब समस्या का सॉल्यूशन भी तो ढूंढना होगा, सॉल्यूशन हमारे अंदर से ही आएगा, ठीक है। तो इस तरह से हम अपने एक रास्ता हो सकता है। हाँ, बच्चों के सवाल जायज़ है कि हम कैसे उसको स्किल करें या इस तरह से हम प्रैक्टिकल, तो ये तो संभव तो नहीं है, लेकिन हमें अपनी गाइडलाइन भी फॉलो करनी होगी, ठीक है। तो इस तरह से हम इसको देख सकते हैं। मतलब आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमें कोई तो फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग सोचना ही होगा, कहने का मतलब। मनरेगा आत्मनिर्भरता नहीं हो सकती, हमें स्किल्स डेवलप करने होंगे और लॉन्ग टर्म, जैसे आलोक पांडे सर ने कहा कि हमें ये कोई एक दिन का या 10 दिन का या 1 साल का प्रोग्राम नहीं हो सकता, और इसको हमें अपने जीवन में अपनाना होगा, तब जाके हम आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर देख सकते हैं। और इसके लिए करना क्या हो सकता है, जितने भी बिग इन्वेस्टर्स हैं इंडिया के, वो सारे हमें यहाँ इन्वेस्ट करे, यहाँ टेक्नोलॉजी लाए और लोगों को एकदम उसके फेमिलियर बनाए, तब जाके ये हमारा सपना पूरा हो सकता है।
Eventually, at the end of the dawn of this pandemic, once it ends, we will have to have a blend of all these 2-3 things, which is what we call the online thing, which is going on. Okay, the classroom teaching is going to be there. Okay, and the best of the best universities would certainly going to invite all the students to be there in the university and be a part and parcel of the classroom education system. So we cannot say that during this pandemic or even after this, it's advisable to go for only for online courses. So now coming to a point, which is what is my passion, and which is what we have been doing under this Indian Academy of Entrepreneurship. That is, we are working, our vision is to nurture innovation and entrepreneurship, and our mission is clear-cut as to enable people resources across the globe through entrepreneurship and employability for dignified livelihood based on collaborative innovation and social technology to serve and save humanity across the world without prejudice. This is what we are doing.
But then there have been a few questions that I noticed about Atmanirbharta, which I would like to bring another perspective on. One was, should we actually see it as boycotting of international imports? We should not see Atmanirbharta as anything to do with reducing of imports, but the building of self-reliance. Whenever we build a business in India, it creates self-reliance, which is not necessarily at the cost of something imported. India is a huge growing market. There are certain resources, there are certain natural resources as well as semi-finished raw material which is always required from overseas, which is not our core competence, and we need to keep importing them. And that is why Atmanirbharta in no way would affect our international trade. However, we also need to see Atmanirbharta from the context of resources. One important resource that would be required is capital. And for us to become truly Atmanirbhar, we would need to tap into both sources of capital. One is internal and second is external. So we want global investors to invest in India, to build our ability of becoming Atmanirbhar. And secondly, we need to harness the domestic Indian savings to build capital for Atmanirbharta.
I think this is an entire misnomer when one believes that self-reliance means we shut ourselves to the outside world. It's certainly not the case. Let's not forget, this country has tried half-heartedly to become self-reliant for the last 70 years and failed. All right? Whereas several other countries across the world have succeeded and succeeded well. And it's countries which are far smaller the size of India. So, the moment we open our minds to learn from them, the better off we are. Let's not only look at imports and capital, we need to gain knowledge from them. We need to gain experience from them. And we need to pay for that fee as well. But create it within our own systems. And don't forget that India has to boost its exports, right? One way of self-reliance is exports. And if you want to export to another country, be prepared to take something from them. It has to be a give and take situation. Anushka has scored 100 out of 100 in mathematics. Now, that's not important. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can do that. But she proved that she could do this.
There was no as such trick. The simple thing was that I regularly gave time to mathematics because I wanted to, excel in it, and I love that subject. So I regularly practiced mathematics, and over the course of 2 months, I solved some 50 question papers, and that really helped at the end. So that there was just this trick of practicing and giving time to it. The good thing is that I had no pressure from my parents. It was something that I did on my accord. I wanted to do it. So there was no external pressure. I want to do something that, as my father always says, build a nation and something that contributes to the development of the country.
Let's stay connected. We'll come back to you in just a moment for closing comments. We're already almost towards the end of the show. We will take a quick break and come back. Stay with us. It's going to be very exciting. Closing comments are always good. Closing comments with an open mind in just a moment.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it is indeed an interesting class of 2020, now isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this very short break. Stay tuned.
new education policy is going to bring quality in the system of education in general and higher education in particular, with the help of 5-pillar concept of education stressed by Honorable Prime Minister, that is accessibility, affordability, equity, quality and accountability.
खेलो कूदो और पढ़ो वाली जो पॉलिसी है बहुत अच्छा रहेगा बच्चों के लिए, बच्चे का एक शारीरिक विकास भी अच्छा होगा और उसके ऊपर वजन नहीं रहेगा। और दूसरा जो इंग्लिश को एकदम दबाव नहीं बनाया है बच्चे के ऊपर, उसमें बच्चा की क्षेत्रीय लैंग्वेज और जो मातृभाषा है उसको स्टडी करेगा।
There are so many things which are attached to the education policy which would not only give opportunities of better research and better upskilling to the students, but opportunities to get a good job or imbibe a skill set which would help them even in becoming an entrepreneur.
This policy will take care of the economy of our country, and also I think we will once again emerge a universal guru for higher education.
Well, ironically, the new education policy aims not just at education, but the entire gamut of human resource development, as it expands the lens beyond structured curriculum and predictable careers to a holistic 360-degree character-building process, as it addresses the critical needs of employment and employability, offering a mix of flexibility and focus all throughout the learning life of a student, as it empowers the teacher, enhancing transparency and accountability through leaner governance. The new education policy truly has the makings perfect and clear 2020 vision, provided it's implemented in true letter and spirit. Coronavirus makes us realign and educators line up for online. Will classes reopen and end the homestay? How much screen time is actually okay? Parents panic for a safer state and students in the lockdown frustrate when physical distancing is the new norm and masks and gloves become the uniform. The digital divide is becoming sinister. We now need solutions from our dear minister.
हमारी शीर्ष प्राथमिकता उस छात्र छात्रा के जीवन की रक्षा करने का है,
ताकि पूरे देश में भी कहीं कोई बच्चा सोचे मुझे एडमिशन नहीं मिला लेकिन मैं दिल्ली में जाके रह सकता हूँ, उसको भी ये कंफर्म हो जाए कि मुझे दिल्ली में एडमिशन मिल जाएगा।
परिस्थितियां इसी प्रकार बनी रहती हैं तो आने वाले टाइम में कुछ न कुछ निर्णय लेंगे। इसलिए हमारा विचार है कि मैं स्कूल खोलने चाहिए।
We can be a tool in the days to come to go use digital mediums of education system.
A market is all about demand and supply. We have to see what are the emerging areas where we have to provide skill and education.
Excellent teachers should be inducted into the education system as teachers, and they should transform this to their children.
पहाड़ी क्षेत्र में टावर का कमी होता है, जो आदिवासी क्षेत्र है
जी
सभी के पास ऑनलाइन मोबाइल नहीं है, तो बहुत सारी बातें हैं।
Thank you, Chetan Sharma and Edumate TV have been doing a wonderful job of connecting with people of all sectors and the churning that takes place. It is like Samudra Manthan, and we will get what you say Amrita. You carry the Amrita to the government and let us all drink that poison and like Shiva and make this education system glorious.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Now let's go back to our class of 2020 and and join Chetan Sharma, founder of Edumate.tv, in conversation with students, teachers, principals, university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Welcome back. Our talent is on. I believe Suraj has just about managed to connect with us.
मेरा इतना काम करेगी क्या मेरे गाँव जा मेरे दोस्त तो
How world will overcome from this pandemic, and what about people who work daily, earn daily wages and eat daily? And the next question is, what about final year students' career? I decided after my last year exams whether I'll take admission in MCOM, but this pandemic situation, the uncertainty is giving me headache. How to deal with that? And what is more beneficial in such economic downfall, entrepreneurship or jobs?
We need to be a little more scientific. We need to understand that uncertainties are a part of life. If you look at it, tuberculosis bacteria lives in your body. It attacks only when your immunity is poor. If you look around, you can't see, apply a microscope, you've got thousands of bacteria and viruses and protozoans and so on, microorganisms, which are around you. COVID is an overhyped, over-glamorized disease. I won't say that in Bombay there's no trouble and you say, why? How is he saying this? But let me tell you, this disease can be easily tackled by keeping your hands clean, not touching your mouth, ensuring that you stay away from people who are unwell, ensuring that how you keep your immunity alive by eating seasonal fruits, a balanced diet, and a regular exercise. In human race especially, our future is dependent upon actions of large number of people around us. You are in Mumbai, and in Mumbai there's a stock market. How does it function? How does the stock move up or down? It is dependent upon how people perceive a particular stock. So, how societies actually function and how future is shaped up, it is due to actions of large number of people. So in developed countries where parliamentarians have been very intelligent, very diligent, ethical, they created right policies and infrastructure, they became developed countries.
You're now a student, right? So I feel at this particular time, you should just focus on upgrading your skills and try to get as much as knowledge as possible. There are so many free courses available on internet. Try to attain those courses. There is I had seen a video on YouTube regarding digital marketing. So you can enroll yourselves into those courses. First, get the skills. Even if you want to become an entrepreneur, then it doesn't mean that you don't require any skills, because entrepreneur itself require a lot of skills, knowledge, right? So first develop your skill, and both the paths will be open for you, whether it is job or whether it is a business. See, for business, first of all, you need to have knowledge in that particular field. For example, I'm a teacher, right? So what kind of business I can think of? I can think of opening a coaching institute, or I can think of anything related to education, because I have knowledge related to education, right? I cannot just go and open up a mobile shop for myself to do a business, because I don't have any knowledge in that particular field. So my suggestion is that if you are thinking of doing some business, first gain the knowledge related to that particular business, and then only you go ahead.
But quality you need to develop your Atmanirbhar, in the sense what the government policy, what the government benefits, what the government gives you the infrastructure, and what all things are there need to be studied well. And I certainly do agree with the Pandey sir earlier who told us that reading only. Reading is the first primary necessary, that to acquire knowledge, background knowledge of doing any of the business. Now, many of the earlier we had the red tapeism earlier, before post-independence or before this last century also. Now we have a red carpet. Many of the policies are becoming easier and easier. Many of the states are also encouraging a business, also entrepreneurship also.
I think my point of I should say suggestion or a comment would be that we need analysis at two ends. One, as a student or as an individual, we have to do the SWOT analysis. Right, SWOT analysis, that means what am I capable of? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where can I find opportunities? And what could be the probable threats for me? Along with that, I think we need to do another analysis, that is feasibility analysis and sustainability analysis. Right, when you talk about feasibility analysis, like I said earlier, I am proposing something which is right now may be required but may not be required in future. So is it economically viable? Is it technically viable? Am I having that kind of an infrastructural support? So with my personal skill set, whatever I'm trying to propose.
There are two things. One, either you do relevant. If you do things which is not relevant, make it relevant. The third point is be responsible. Be responsible for yourself. Nobody is going to make you responsible, my dear friends. Let me tell you myself, nobody has made me responsible. I believe in myself. I come from a place, I come from a village. I usually talk to my colleagues that my village, which is very, very remote, where I lived my life with no electricity, no schools in my village, no road to my village. To go for till my 10th standard, I went 10 kilometers out from my village to study.
So I think it is all about one's interest and risk-taking ability. But I'd like to add on it, I'd like to urge all the participants to be smart, have specific objectives, measurable objectives.
I think my closing remarks would be, as somebody has pointed out very rightly, I think it was Dr. Mumtaz from Rizvi College, and I really appreciate that just as everybody is not cut out for a particular role, similarly, everybody is not cut out for an entrepreneurship role also. So just because entrepreneurship is being encouraged, you should not be thinking that it's my turn now to try entrepreneurship. You should identify yourself, know yourself. That's very important. Somebody said, know thyself. That remains true. So know yourself. And if you think that you have it in you, if you think that you have something, you have the passion, you have the risk-taking ability, you can make a mark, then go for it.
The quality of human resources which is required into the entrepreneurial world, either into the entrepreneurial world or into the employability world, you need to be extremely competent. And there are only 4 key words, which is what we have coined and which is around which we work. You have to be extremely agile, A for agility, B for benevolence, C for courage, and D for discipline. And this is what all these people we have been talking about. You need to have all these 4 traits with yourself to be a successful entrepreneur or to be an excellent employable resource.
I would say that there could be no better time than now to get into entrepreneurship. With all due respect to all the courses being there, there's no better course than being an entrepreneur. Having done more than 12 businesses, I can tell you there could be no better thing to learn than doing a business yourself. You could do it along with your studies, and there is no better time than now because there are plenty of opportunities afloat.
We in India have much higher immunity, higher recovery rate, lowest death rate. So if you want to increase the death rate, if you want to go to a country with very high death rates, I would not recommend. Almost every country, people are dying more because of one reason or the other. Stay in India, stay safe. There are not going to be any flights, and there's going to be a second wave probably in Western countries, as Britain estimates, other countries estimates. It's all about your level of competence, as everybody said. It's about compassion, somebody said. It's about courage, and it's about commitment. So if you look at, leadership revolves around these basic tenets of life, and entrepreneurship is actually another word for leadership. When I work in an organization, I don't really look at my management every time to seek their answer as to what I wish to get done or not done. I always say, let me do this, else I'm going. So fact is that, when you start working in organizations, you have to be, today's India belongs to people who are going to be leaders for tomorrow.
I would say, before starting on the journey of entrepreneurship, ask yourself the right question. And if you're prepared to do that, it's only then that you step into an entrepreneur's shoes. It's not easy. It's not difficult either. It's just a mindset. And as I said even yesterday, I'll repeat that the only R required to be reliant is a set of 3 R's. One is to be relevant. You have to continue to be relevant in society. If you're not relevant, you cannot be an entrepreneur. The second is to be responsive. You've got to continue to understand what are the changes that are happening around you to be able to continue being relevant. Right? You've got to be responsible. The third thing is third R, the most critical one, which you said even a little while earlier, I think by Professor Naik, is responsible. You've got to take onus and responsibility for your actions. Thank you, IMS, for your support. Thank you for all our prestigious guests for coming and sharing their opinion for us. And we always say, in the field of education, right, to educate better, you'd better edumate.
Pillars of access, equity, accountability, quality and affordability, I hope this policy is going to bring huge changes in India's economic growth and human capital development. It amalgamates the best practices from several Western and Southeast Asian countries and even countries for Europe.
For the first time, I'm seeing that there is a deviation from curricular load to reducing the content to the essential core. I think this is going to go a long way in producing deep thinkers in our country.
The policy is too idealistic to my mind, and its practical implementation in a country as vast and as diverse as in India will be a major challenge for the government of India and for the entire teaching community.
What's necessary for an educational institution is to provide conditions in which a young person or a student, when even faculty, can begin to unfold the kind of brilliance and talent that they have within themselves. And I think that the new education policy really lays down the conditions, the framework, the parameters for this to happen. So in that sense, it's a remarkable document.
Well, ironically, the new education policy aims not just at education, but the entire gamut of human resource development, as it expands the lens beyond structured curriculum and predictable careers to a holistic 360-degree character-building process, as it addresses the critical needs of employment and employability, offering a creative mix of flexibility and focus all throughout the learning life of a student, as it empowers the teacher, enhancing transparency and accountability through leader governance. The new education policy truly has the makings perfect and clear 2020 vision, provided it's implemented in true letter and spirit.
Venn diagrams are perfect for explaining my career path. I'm one of the few comics working in Venn diagrams. So the reason I became an engineer was because of two things. I was good at two things. I had math skills and I was good at problem solving. And when you're good at those two things, no guidance counselor ever says you should be a comedian. They would be fired. So they said you should be an engineer, so I went and became an engineer. Makes perfect sense, right? Over here, if you got people skills, you're good with people, and you're good at problem solving, you're probably going to go into management, right? Makes perfect sense. Over here, if you got OCD, everything has to be exactly right. And you're good at math, you are an accountant, is what you are. The accountants were high-fiving over there. I have never seen an accountant high-five. Yes, he got us right. That joke adds up perfectly. That is accountants, though. They can't solve any problems, but they can identify them. That's an accountant. An accountant will go, you got to fix this. Over here, if you're into drinking and you have people skills, you're in sales is what you are. Are you salespeople? That's always the loudest yell. Without fail, they're always the loudest. Over here, if you're heartless and you have OCD, you're in human resources. No heart whatsoever. And if you're heartless and into drinking, you're a lawyer.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is our very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Dr. H.S. Dhaliwal, Vice Chancellor, Eternal University. An exclusive conversation of insights and inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder, Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented pandemic, an unprecedented situation, where history has been written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making us rethink, reboot, reset, rewind before we rebuild a new future, the new normal. There's one trait that is always required in a situation of crisis to convert that into an opportunity. And that trait is wisdom. Wisdom which is emanating from past experiences and knowledge, and wisdom which makes us flexible to embrace, anticipate, understand, and evolve into a new future, a new normal. And it's that wisdom at the helm of the higher education of this country which takes us to the Vice Chancellor. Welcome to the Vice Chancellor. Today we have one of the wisest and a very, very senior and a decorated personality, Sri H.S. Dhaliwal of Eternal University. Thank you, sir, for joining us in this very special show. It's a special show for a special person with a special USP. So tell us your journey, Mr. Dhaliwal, which has really been something where students, teachers, educationists have drawn inspiration. Talk us through that journey, sir.
I do come from a very remote village of Gurdaspur district, Punjab. Had my matriculation from one of the high school there at Dhaliwal, which is known for its woolen mill, etc. And my father did say that, okay, now that's enough matriculation. I cannot afford to send you to a college. But there was some trader who used to come to our village to sell clothes, etc. He had very good business at Kadia. So he did ask me what your percentage marks in matric, and I did tell him that I have first division. I stood first in the district. And he said, are you going to college? I said, Then the trader said, okay, I will give you your fees. Why don't you go to college? Then my father got agitated. Why can't I send? So this is how I was sent to Khalsa College Amritsar for BSc Agriculture, and it was not BSc. I joined the pre-university in non-medical, wanted to be an engineer, but little later then I switched over to agriculture and got scholarship. Then I stood first again in the university, got my BSc Agriculture from Punjab University, Khalsa College Amritsar, was affiliate to Khalsa College Amritsar. So then MSc again in Punjab University, Ludhiana, MSc in plant breeding. So then due to family circumstances, I joined the service immediately as soon as I got my MSc. And after 3 years of service, I had the offer of fellowship, research assistantship from University of California, Riverside. So I resigned my service, went over there. I was probably one of the person who got PhD degree in 2.5 years from the University of California. And I wanted to serve in Europe as well. So went back. I had a fellowship in the University of California for 1.5 years. Came back and accepted my position in Switzerland. So I was there for 3 years, learned skiing and others, and ultimately again it was Dr. Khem Singh Gill, the Padma Bhushan Vice Chancellor of the University, who asked me, "You have traveled enough, you have learned enough. Why don't you come back and serve your country?" And again, after 3 years of service, I came back to the University of Ludhiana and worked as director of regional research station at Gurdaspur of PAU. And then again, I was the first one to write a proposal to establish biotechnology center. Biotechnology will come in as a very good field for improvement plants, animal microbes and other. The biotechnology center at Punjab University in 1986. And then to run it, I was asked to come and work now there at PSU Ludhiana, leave Gurdaspur. And wonderful. This is how I moved there and worked for another 12 years. And in fact, my son is in Canada. He asked me, "Why don't you move to Canada?" And he sponsored me, got immigration there. But then Dr. Premwar, he was the director of IIT Roorkee. He asked me, I have been known to him. I used to go there for as expert or as a popular lecturer. That can you really come and work for 2 years at IIT Roorkee? And I accepted his offer. I was at that time at USCBS, I met in US. I was the first one to get a mega project from Department of Biotechnology for IIT Roorkee. So this is how my story. And then I had, of course, a link with this trust. And I had the promise that as soon as I retire, I have to be here the next day.
Absolutely, it's inspirational. And I was observing, how passionately you were narrating. Success cannot be achieved, and especially the way you have. And the impression that I've always carried is that you embody a guru.
Trying my best.
Which I think is very spiritual in the way you convey, in the way you act. And that's married very strongly with the discipline of an administrator. This was my understanding of Professor Dhaliwal. Tell me if I'm correct or not.
It's a long way to be a guru, but it's my always effort, and I have lots and lots of students who are spread around the world. I'm known to be a very hard-working, expecting a lot from my student. On the other hand, my wife, she has been very, cooperative with the student.
I'm going to add the trait of humility to the other traits which I pointed out earlier, because that seems to also emanate from your thinking. Now, whatever you say, the traits which you represent are exactly the traits that one requires in the environment today. The environment is challenging. The challenge has to be converted into an opportunity. Tell us your thought on the COVID environment, the new normal, and how you personally are steering through it.
We were caught totally unprepared due to COVID-19. Of course, we are aware that there is a virus and it's spreading very fast, but we never thought that the institution will be closed. And I made it clear that, okay, all of us, wherever we are, we have to start off online teaching. Otherwise, Ministry of Human Resource Development, UGC, they already have come up with many online courses, what we call MOOC, SWAM, NPTEL and others. And we have been asking our faculty and students, why don't you register for these courses and get additional advanced knowledge? But no one is really receptive, maybe only 1 or 2% of the faculty and students have been doing. And now I think with such a training, with such a change in mindset, probably it will help quite a lot for us, to get access to very advanced knowledge in every subject. Of course, there are a lot of problems with all these online courses being offered. There is still problem of transfer of credits, etc. But I think with that, we will continue to do that. We will not leave it even the institution get open. So we'll probably still have certain proportion that what we have discussed earlier, it has to be a hybrid system. Always I made it sure that since, we always have been talking about skill development, industry-ready studentship, And in our coursework, we always want to be very sure that there should be 70, 30, 60, 40 ratio of theory and practical. And we have not been able to justify the practical part. And also, not only in our institution, but also at the country level, higher education institution, when we talk about approximately, since some program are 4 years, other program is 2 years, PhD of course 4 to 5 years. So if you take the average, 1/3 of our students, I think 4 crore or something like, I believe.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
1/3 of them, they are expecting their graduation by the end of this semester. And we are at a loss to know how best we could, take care of their practical part and their specifically project work, thesis, etc. So for that, I'm trying very hard to convince even our management that why don't you really, open the university at least for postgraduate students. But still, we have to have the permission of the state government. That's one of our major problem. Otherwise, I think we have managed COVID-19 very nicely.
Thank you for highlighting that and inspiring us and inspiring several other people who are in this domain to be able to invoke the same sense of responsibility.
Because you are very good connections, and I would like to get your help, specifically open the higher education institutions, especially for postgraduate students.
For that you recognize and you reinforced the need for online education and hybrid education. I think that shows remarkable flexibility and anticipation, which I mentioned as one part of the wisdom. Secondly, also in a way stating or showing your displeasure with the way the entire education system was perhaps being handled. The center and the state being at cross purposes, decisions being delayed and deferred to the Supreme Court. We've seen that at large. And at the end of it all, scrapping of examinations or delay in the opening up of institutions, all which have a financial implication. It has an assessment implication. It has a curriculum implication. And of course, despite the fact that it's unprecedented, it's created a sense of confusion amidst the entire community. So thank you for highlighting that. Let's now move across now to understand a little bit of eternal. I love the name, by the way, eternal. And the dictionary meaning, of course, would be unending. So representative, because learning has to be unending. We need to learn every single day of our lives. But it also has a feeling of gratitude in it, when you mention the word eternal. So talk us through first the representation and the vision and the mission of the word eternal in the scheme of your university, and how do you represent that as a part of your daily life and curriculum?
So I don't know if you have heard Sant Babatar Singh, Wale. He had no education at all, but he has been always for education, and especially the women. He was the one who had established first girls' college in 1906 at Masthuan. And keeping in view his vast experience in education and spirituality, it was Bharat Ratna Madan Mohan Malviya, when he wanted to establish the Banaras University in the early parts of 20th century, established an education institute at this place with a combination of cutting-edge education with spiritual education, rejuvenation of spirituality. That was what he needed. In 1986, he established the first Akal Academy. Akal has been their logo. It has been Kavita Trust, which he probably established in 1985, But it was such a successful experiment, which has led to the establishment of 130 Akal Academies in 6 northern states and 2 universities. One is ours, another is there at Bathinda. And the mandate of all these institutions has been the combination of value-based education. The literal translation of Akal was eternal. This is how the name Eternal University came up. And of course, there is a lot of commitment as well of everyone, student, management, the faculty, come up to the expectation of the word eternal. And of course, education is always eternal. And this is something which never gets lost, never gets stolen, never gets burned.
Oh, absolutely beautiful, sir. And I just salute you for the nobility that you've shown across several aspects. One, of course, in highlighting the sports facility, which is very close to Punjab as a state, Punjab, Haryana, and the entire belt. And two other very noble, thought processes as well as societal needs which you're addressing. And I'd like you to elaborate on that. One, which you mentioned a little while earlier, is on gender bias and the focus on girl education. And Punjab as a state, has seen the menace of two things, two aspects, which I clearly do remember. One is, of course, gender bias, and second is drugs. I think one of the singular reasons which is converted one of India's most prosperous states to perhaps now one of the, I'd say, even impoverished states.
This trust, Calcutta Society, they also have established a few de-addiction centers. One of that is there at Badu Sahib itself. So here we have some addicts, not only from Punjab, other states, as well as from Himachal Pradesh. And specifically, everyone is of the view that this particular university to start with was a co-education institution. And we have certain problems still, there are certain disciplines where we got now less admission. I was the first one to start MTech in renewable energy, keeping in view the country's energy need and harnessing solar energy or other hybrid systems. We have had certain problems with this change, but we have to go with my interest, and I think we are very hopeful in the times to come. Our main aim is we still have not been able to get even a single admission through consultant. It always has been through the association of parents, through our students, through our faculties.
Brilliant.
And the idea is, sooner or later, we think that it will become a popular university, and we will be able to meet our.
Well, I think you've got the building blocks correct, Professor Dhaliwal. The fact that you're not going through consultants at all, which most universities do go to, and you get direct recruitment.
We have tough competition.
Telling itself, yes. But thank you for bringing out a very critical aspect of gender bias, and the way you brought it in such a candid manner also represents your openness in thinking. And I recognize that, and thank you for bringing that as well. You talked about, of course, the drug issue and how you've taken firm steps towards ensuring that your campus is absolutely clean, which is so critical for
totally drug-free. Totally drug-free.
Yes. You brought out another interesting aspect that is of agriculture. Now, Punjab has been an agro-economy. India is an agro-economy, and Punjab is a firm representation of that. And this is a country where the anomaly being that even though today 70%, about 67% of our population still depends on agriculture, agriculture only contributes 1/5 or even less than 1/6 to our GDP. That's the anomaly. That's also the opportunity. How to convert agriculture through services and technology. And I think education, and you've been very well educated in the field of agriculture and technology, can take a big step. Is that an opportunity that Eternal could be looking at?
There has been, mushrooming of agriculture institution in Punjab, and Punjab Technical University has been the one who has been sponsoring such colleges and others. They were literally shocks, and here I thought in Himachal Pradesh we had only two agriculture universities. One was agriculture, Forestry University at Noni, other agriculture university at Palampur. And why not to start agriculture college here at University? I'm the first one to start here. Of course, we got very good cooperation from Himachal Pradesh government. And then, of course, 3 or 4 other universities have come up. And here we have exclusively the girls student. We have now 90 seats, and 80% our students are from Himachal Pradesh. We have certain provisions as per ICR norms in agriculture practical, experiential learning and work experience in agriculture, Krishi Gyan Kendra training and other. So we are encouraging all our students, we take them by bus to villages, keep them there to work with farmers. So idea is always also to have an inclusive development of the people around. It's one of the most backward area. And I think 90% people of Sirmaur district live in villages and only about 10% area is under agriculture and 20% area is only irrigated. There are a lot of problems and I think we are very hopeful. We will try to ultimately concentrate on improving the economic condition of the poor farmers around.
Quite remarkable and quite relevant, whatever you're doing in the field, because all of these, in a natural manner, would at some stage culminate in improving the immunity system as well, which is the big lesson from COVID, is that all of us have to improve our immunity system.
It's very difficult to find a solution to Punjab's agriculture problem, Punjab's youth and specifically the dependence of a huge workforce on agriculture. And what I see, as farmer of Punjab, I think it's typical for every farmer, maybe even from Himachal, maybe even from Haryana or any other part of India, specifically the Indian farmer, we have love for land.
I know it's interesting you say that. There's a saying in Hindi ki zar joru az zameen. ये जो तीन चीज हैं, इन्हीं से ये भी फसाद का जड़ी होता है और मौत भी इन्हीं से होता है.
The only solution is corporate farming. Corporate farming.
True. A bold statement, as much as it may sound. I think if you can pronounce that, if agriculture of India is able to leverage technology of India, it's able to leverage the service sector of India and the manufacturing sector of India, and the three are integrated, India can be the most powerful economy in the world. I mean, it's a bold statement, but it's a statement, if you consider it very deeply, it makes a lot of economic, social, as well as even political sense. I'd like to draw from your wisdom to get some inspiring advice for the various sections of the education ecosphere. The student, the parent, the teacher, and your fellow Vice Chancellor.
We all interact, in various capacities with many. Like, we are toddler, then we are adolescent, we are students, we are teachers, we are parents, we are administrators. Like if we really see through all our, modes of interaction with others around the planet. So if we really do whatever we expect others to do with us, if we really try to do in all our capacities, and I think it will be a wonderful planet, wonderful place to live. I don't know if I have been able to exactly.
Well, I mean, thank you for those pearls of wisdom.
We are heading at least partially to digital teaching, digital learning, and we all are aware that we probably a bit weak in transmitting practical part to digital teaching. That is one of the deficiencies we have. So I would like to see if Edumate in the times to come up with some good teams, not necessarily on permanent basis, on probably contact basis, those who could really develop very beautiful comprehensive course curriculum for certain certificates, for certain diplomas, etc. And then these should be offered online and along with their own studies. And I think you could probably do it the way Edumate has come up, and not only bringing casually the stakeholders together, but at the same time also contribute on your own as well. I think that will really help quite a lot. So that's what I expect Edumate to come up with.
And our mantra is employability. So I think it's completely in sync with what you say.
Yeah.
Employability is what the need of the hour is. Well, thank you so much, Professor Dhariwal. Indeed, a pleasure as always to talk to you and to learn from you. And it's truly a pleasure to call you the Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir.
Delhi University admissions start today. Go fully online. Many states yet to decide school reopening dates, unsure due to COVID-19 situation. Karnataka announces 3-week midterm holiday for schools from October 12th to October 30th. Schools to not reopen in Maharashtra before Diwali, Education Minister Varsha Gaikwad. LSR records highest cutoffs at 100% for 3 courses. No need to spend dollars on a foreign degree anymore, Ramesh Pokhriyal. IIM alumni Shrikant Datar becomes the Dean of Harvard, second consecutive Indian to achieve so. Modi wants Oxford, Harvard and Yale to open campuses in India. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. Political Science and BCom Honours, toughest to get in at Delhi University. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
So these were the top headlines from the world of education. Now let's move on to our special series on the new normal Candid COVID Classroom, where we engage with industry, domain experts, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Welcome to this very special symposium on Edumate.tv. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rethink, reboot, reset, rewind, reformat before we rebuild a new future, a new normal. In the world of education, this means challenges galore. And they say that the only thing constant is change. In a pandemic, the only thing certain is uncertainty. While change is a necessary part of progress, it's important to consider that all change does not lead to progress. And that's what makes the difference in our education. As we try and grapple with new challenges and try to find solutions which will in fact be progressive, pragmatic, responsive, responsible, and relevant. And to do that, we at Edumate.tv are building a unique ecosphere of the education world between students, parents, teachers, vice chancellors, the government, bureaucrats, edupreneurs, educrats, to try and come out with a single white paper document which we'll present to the government of India, which will bring in a sense of new normal in education. It'll also bring in a sense of how solutions will shape the way for a very new India and a very new education world. This program is brought to you by Edumate.tv. It's produced by Education, which looks at education ahead. I'm very proud to say that it's powered by one of India's finest universities nestled in the Northeast, the Royal Global University. And as always, our webinars, our symposiums have some very, very special luminaries for the world of education. Let's take a look at who they are. And the new normal becomes new almost every single day, and it teaches us something new. But something that's been new now for a while and accepted, it has been the need for a hybrid education in this country, in fact across the world. And hybrid education has got several names. It's been said to be blended, it's been said to be phygital, which is a mixture of physical and well as online. But by and large, it is something that is evoluting. Now, at Royal Global University, who were one of the first, the pioneers to start off the online education in the northeast of the world, have taken some very, very interesting, innovative and inspiring steps towards the new normal. So let's get Dr. S.P. Singh to talk us through what is the new in the new normal of the RGU. Over to you, sir.
From the 23rd March itself, or maybe prior to that, we started online classes, and we have learned many things in the last 3.5 months. And students in huge number and in a good mode of hybrid education, good mode of online education, they have attended classes and they have appeared for the online examination also. That was a class test, and 97-98% of the students appeared for the class test. So it was very, very good part from the Royal Global University that we could do continue education of the students, because we were very concerned about their year loss, and we were very concerned about that they should continue, because the basic objective is not examination and teaching them by any mode, but basic concern was that a student during this pandemic time should be mentally alert, should be physically healthy, as well as they should be continuously doing something in the direction of getting right kind of education. Now, as we say in the new time, post-COVID time, we are going to have a hybrid system, because we have learned many things and we have understood the importance. And I would say personally that I really enjoyed teaching online, but not all the subjects, but most of the subjects we could teach online, and the students were also comfortable. So we are going to have some blended form once the university will reopen, and that can be of any kind. That can be rotation model, that can be flex model, that can be self-blended model, that can be other enriching models. So there are 5-7 models being told by different people in the world, and this is going on from a long time. If the student and the parents are just thinking in terms of that a student will be sitting at home, so I would say the importance of education is not limited to sharing of knowledge or sharing of any subject or maybe concepts or maybe any mathematical calculations. Basically, it is obviously that we will be giving them a social platform where they socialize, they learn new things, they change their attitude, their behavior has been tuned, behavioral science has been taught, and the students are ready to face the world. That probably will be difficult online in the online mode. Therefore, blended is the new normal.
Learning has to be a process across every single strata, across every single age of life. And I commend you for starting with that, Dr. Singh. Thank you for saying that. It encourages all of us, to keep learning, and that's so important. Dr. Guru Goen, what have been your learnings? I mean, COVID has thrown open a unique set of challenges, but it's also thrown open a unique set of opportunities.
The pandemic also has its positive, aspects, if I can say that way. That it has brought to the fore the possibilities and the potentialities of the alternate mode of learning, teaching learning. In fact, if I recall, the government of India, way back in 2017, much before the pandemic has started, if I remember again, 2017, December 31st was the deadline set by the MHRD to all the universities of the country, government universities, to have the digital platforms like Swayam Prabha, E-Pathshala, E-Yantra, NPTEL, everything in place. It was very apparent that the country has no dearth of, infrastructure and resource to switch to the digital mode. Going from the classroom direct face-to-face teaching to the digital mode is not a shift of technology, as I said last time, but it is also a shift of culture. So
and
culture,
mindset.
And definitely mindset and culture go together, and it takes time. So therefore, now when we have the digital infrastructure, by and large okay, but then in a country as large as India, I think you can never be 100%. It will take some time. For a country like India, as vast and as diverse, you cannot have one set of teaching learning contents. So it has to be contextualized, whatever has been developed centrally, and it is to that extent, the faculties of the universities
and the schools have to again embark upon a new journey. So this is what I feel, that this is a very open road, a new journey ahead, and we have to really come to this new normal.
Let's first start with Sushil Tripathi ji, and let us understand how has your experiences been molded over these last 60 days. It's been a journey which has been had different rules, different learnings for different people. What have been yours, sir?
Last 60 days, of course, most of us have been confined to our homes due to lockdown in most parts. But I would go back to the subject of e-learning and hybrid learning. You see, we have come a long way from the time when we had correspondence courses at universities and also for classes 10 and 12. And the experience of those correspondence courses was not very happy. The results used to be quite dismal. And then there were some changes brought about, and we had School of Open Learning for up to class 12, and we had Indira Gandhi Open University, which brought in new technology, new methods, new curriculum, new ways of communication, and improvements were brought about all around in all states, all universities. We had started this work and started first from the IITs, the technical institutions and the management institutions, which developed curriculum and which were more techno-savvy, and also the teachers were more prepared to take it up, and they had the students also more mature students who could understand, and it started from there. And then of course it has spread all over. All the universities, all the engineering institutions and all colleges are trying to adopt it. But of course when we have a virtual classroom, then I think we should be careful that it should be a two-way communication. We have to see that infrastructure at the end of the communicator, the transmission infrastructure and the reception infrastructure, they are all of high quality and there are no glitches. Now the internal assessments will become more important, and this has been the refrain from some time, that continuous and assessment, comprehensive and continuous assessment. And during this period of COVID-19, we have also seen how there is a lack of skills in the country. That education does not necessarily mean knowledge, and knowledge does not necessarily mean skill. So these gaps between education and knowledge and skill, they have to be removed. The e-learning and digital education system and platforms are becoming more important, but they cannot totally replace the physical mode which has to be there, and particularly in the areas where skill development is required.
Obviously, because there has been such an uproar, such a furor, whether it's in courts or it's in open public platforms, from either from parents or from student forums or from teacher forums, there is a divide. Not just on a digital front, there's also a divide in opinion upon how much of online is enough. Now, this could be because of digital infrastructure insufficiency, or the lack of preparedness of teachers, or the lack of adaptability of parents who've got to go back, to work and can't leave the entire education in the hands of their children. There's several and more reasons which actually have invoked this divide.
इस कोविड के चैलेंज ने हमें एक अपॉर्चुनिटी दी है, हमें सोचने के लिए मजबूर किया है। हम इंडिया में हैं और इंडियन एजुकेशन सेटअप ऑलमोस्ट 100% फेस टू फेस लर्निंग की बात करते हैं। बच्चे घर से स्कूल आते हैं, 8 आवर टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, सम टाइम रोट लर्निंग, सम टाइम एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग, सम टाइम प्रोजेक्ट एंड एक्टिविटी बेस्ड लर्निंग, एंड वापस घर। बट स्कैंडिनेवियन कंट्रीज में, मैक्सिमम फॉरेन कंट्रीज में आज से 15-20 साल पहले ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन सेटअप स्टार्ट हो चुका था और वहां ब्लेंडेड अप्रोच है। फेस टू फेस क्लासरूम भी अवेलेबल है एंड ऑनलाइन डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म भी अवेलेबल है। इसलिए जब ये कोविड का संकट आया, बाकी फॉरेन कंट्रीज में लर्निंग गैप उस तरह का नहीं हो रहा है जितना लर्निंग गैप हमारे कंट्री में हो रहा है, क्योंकि हमारे बच्चे अचानक घरों में बंद। फॉर्चुनेटली मैं बात करूंगा सेंट्रल बोर्ड ऑफ सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन की, फॉर्चुनेटली हमारे पास जो 22,000 स्कूल्स हैं वहां हम लोगों के पास डिजिटल लैब, कंप्यूटर लैब, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी कंपलसरी है। हमारे 100% स्कूल्स में कंप्यूटर लैब्स हैं और बच्चे कंप्यूटर और डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी से अवेयर किए जाते हैं। एंड एक दूसरी अच्छी चीज ये है कि मैक्सिमम पेरेंट्स जो सीबीएसई स्कूल्स में जिनके बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं, मैक्सिमम लोगों ने इन 3 महीनों में अपने को डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म पर शिफ्ट भी कर लिया। हमारे ऑलमोस्ट 90% स्कूल ऑनलाइन क्लासेस पर शिफ्ट कर चुके हैं। फ्यू पेरेंट्स, फ्यू स्टूडेंट्स जिनके पास डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है, टाइप्स नहीं है, या जिनके पास बाकी फैसिलिटीज नहीं, हम ट्राई कर रहे हैं तो वहाँ वर्कशीट के माध्यम से, वहाँ व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप के माध्यम से, मेल ग्रुप के माध्यम से, ऑफलाइन प्रोजेक्ट्स के माध्यम से, इवन एनसीईआरटी का जो एकेडमिक कैलेंडर है, अल्टरनेटिव कैलेंडर है, उसके माध्यम से हम उन बच्चों तक भी पहुंचे जहां डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी अवेलेबल नहीं है। पढ़ाना तो आसान है, सेल्फ ओरिएंटेड लर्निंग के थ्रू, प्रोजेक्ट लर्निंग के थ्रू या ई क्लासेस के थ्रू, लेकिन उनका असेसमेंट जो अभी तक होता तो थोड़ा सा टफ है, क्योंकि नॉर्मली असेसमेंट का हमारा पुराना तरीका था। हमारा तरीका यह होता था कि हम बच्चों को 1 आवर में या 2 या 3 आवर में सर्टेन क्वेश्चन पेपर देते थे जो उनके नॉलेज को टेस्ट करता था और टीचर इवेल्युएट करके असेस कर देते थे। इस समय बच्चे घर में और घर ही स्कूल बन गया है। ऐसे समय में टीचर टेस्टिंग कैसे करें, ऑनेस्टी के साथ बच्चे एग्जाम कैसे दें और वो असेसमेंट को टीचर इवेल्युएट कैसे करें, ये चैलेंज है। बट फिर भी हम लगातार ट्राई कर रहे हैं, डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म, नए नए इन्वेंशंस हो रहे हैं उनके माध्यम से कि टीचर्स जो भी बच्चे वर्क कर रहे हैं, वर्कशीट कर रहे हैं, उनको इवेल्युएट कर सके। प्रैक्टिकल एक अदर चैलेंज है। सरकार प्रयास करे कि टीवी चैनल के माध्यम से एवरीडे लाइव क्लासेस बच्चों तक पहुंचे, रेडियो के माध्यम से लगातार पहुंचे, स्वयं प्रभा चैनल पर एवरीडे बच्चों को 7 आवर की क्लासेस दी जा रही, सब्जेक्ट वाइज, टॉपिक वाइज। एंड स्वयं प्रभा चैनल ऑलमोस्ट 10 टीवी चैनल्स पे आ रहा है, डीडी पर, जियो पर, एयरटेल पर, हर जगह उसको आ रहा है। तो प्रयास लगातार सरकार का भी और सीबीएसई या एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट का हो रहा है, लेकिन सफलता अभी उतनी नहीं मिल पा रही जितनी मिलनी चाहिए थी। जब तक एजुकेशन सेटअप नहीं चेंज करेंगे, पैराडाइम नहीं शिफ्ट करेंगे, जब तक हम बच्चों को रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हम क्रिएटिविटी और इनोवेशन को एजुकेशन का सेंटर नहीं बनाएंगे, कि रोड लर्निंग चलती रहेगी और 40 करोड़ आबादी 50 करोड़ पे बढ़ती रहेगी। मेरी सलाह इस फोरम पर बहुत बड़े शब्दों के साथ ये है कि यहाँ सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक चीज देखने की जरूरत है, वो है टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस।
सफलता जो अभी आपने हासिल की है, जिस मार्ग पर आप जाना चाहते हैं, तीनों के लिए आपकी सराहना करना चाहूंगा, और साथ साथ हमें आश्वस्त करने के लिए, हमको भरोसा दिलाने के लिए कि सरकार जो है बहुत से कदम उठा रही है, जिससे ये जो एक डिजिटल विभाजन की जो हम बातचीत कर रहे हैं, वो बहुत जल्दी वो गैप कम से कम हो जाए। लेकिन हकीकत यह है कि आपके जो भी प्रयत्न के बावजूद बहुत सी अभी परेशानियां हैं, उस पर हम चर्चा करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि जब तक हम वो परेशानियों को उजागर नहीं करेंगे, हमको हकीकत से हमारा वास्ता कुछ न कुछ दूर रहता रहेगा। Let's get over to our principals who've joined us from across the Northeast, who've obviously been, patiently hearing all the wise men speak so far.
We'll have to follow e-learning as well as face-to-face teaching. This will be a part of our education from now onwards. It is already there from last decade. We have smart classes. Almost all the institutions, those who are in the cities or even in the interior places, government has helped some institutions to have smart classes for their children. And government is doing a lot in this last few years. I have seen they are doing in this aspect. In this respect, government is doing a lot to provide smart classes and all these things. So I am hopeful. Very precisely, I will tell you one thing, that changes comes, changes goes, and we learn from them, we survive from there. This particular COVID has given us an opportunity to be strong, to learn from it, use it in life. Whatever opportunities, this particular difficult situation, we should learn from there, strengthen ourselves, and then go ahead. The parents now, they are doing everything for the learning of their children, and they will keep on doing. We should be rest assured. And I am telling you one thing, that we are going to be stronger. This digitalization, e-learning has come to stay in our life, it will stay. We must think the ways in what way we can help our children to get this learning, to use this learning, and how they can utilize this in their life.
How can we, with 1 or 2 smartphones, 3 children studying in the same school? So we changed the timing, and then we told them not to worry, we'll have extra classes later on when everything is normal. So this was the psychology of all the parents which I'm talking to you about it. But what I feel is this type of hybrid learning should be there always for the lifelong. Because at present in the school there is online smart learning, but at home also we should have the online education, and the parents should be aware of the things which are taught to them. Once when this COVID subsides, with God's grace, and everything will be normal, how will you bring the children to the schools? What are the things we should do? What are the things we should maintain? How will we able to tell them to keep the distance? Because there are so many things, physical education, other activities where they have to be together. These are the points we have to think. Now the mix of collective learning and individual learning, mix of synchronous learning and asynchronous learning, a mix of self-based and group-based learning, mix of formal learning, all these things should be, we have to plan it from before and start with the hygiene part is the most important, which we have, which already by this 2-3 months everybody has learned and the students are able to understand about it. But still, the smaller ones till primary, till class 4, it will be very difficult. 5, 6, 7 can be managed, and it's very good for 9, 10, 11, 12.
It has been an exciting time because we have seen, in spite of all the problems around, a lot of excitement from the part of the school, from the part of the management, teachers, students, parents, and so on. And the excitement was to that extent that sometimes we have seen some students early in the morning, they get up, they say the prayers, and then they are ready for the assembly, come in school uniform and waiting for the classes to begin. And this is the extent to which some students have participated. And when I say some, it doesn't mean a lesser percentage. When I say some, it means even up to 80 to 90% of students. Of course, there is another group of students who couldn't be part of it. Now, let us be very clear that COVID is a reality. It's a reality that has struck us. It is here to stay, and we have got to live with it in the days to come. And the educational institutions, they definitely have been hit very hard because of the presence of the COVID. But then it is to the credit of everyone that they have overcome the challenges. Teachers, students, and parents, they have lived up to the expectation, and they have, to a great extent, they have bridged the gap, and learning has been happening in many ways. I feel the teachers also have been COVID warriors, the teaching community, because when the whole lockdown started, it came as a bolt from a blue. No one expected it to happen. And then immediately, teachers and everyone, they gathered together all that was available. And then they, a school like ours, we hardly got 10 days to begin the whole process of online learning. And then we started it on 26th of March. And then, the whole learning happened all on a sudden. And teachers have contributed, and they have lived up to the expectation. And I feel that even in the days to come, our students and our country is in safe hands because of the hard work that is put in by lots of teachers.
We have come together so far, and it has been very, very successful, I should say, even though we have our limitations with lots of people, some parts of our state not being having net connectivity, those kind of issues are there. The issue of having 2 or more children in the school and having to go online at the same time, supervise the work. These are the issues that the parents are facing. But we have been educating them and speaking to them, counseling them about the need for them to be able to make adjustments, make room for the children to learn online, because the situation demands for us to rise to the occasion. So this is how we have been working hand in hand with the teachers, commitment level going up another notch, and they have been very, very accommodating of the parents' queries and complaints and the good and the bad. We're learning to take it all together. All schools should be able to balance out the holistic education in terms of having to put in both the academics and the other things that I've just cited about the core curricular, the extracurricular, the career orientation, the other competitions and other exposures and platforms that our students need to be given. So with online coming in, we can go for knowledge-based learning for the students to learn at home with the help of and the supervision of the parents, and combining that when they come physically, when things let up, when they come back to classroom, more of interaction, more of clearing of doubts can take place, and more of social skills being developed amongst the school students. I think that is how we should move up.
The question is that even when the problems are there, if you're able to be positive, the only one way you can do that is by providing solutions. We'll come back in just a moment after a quick break to discuss solutions with all our panelists. Stay with us.
Royal Global University is your window to the world. See the transition in you through innovative pedagogy, state-of-the-art facilities, and experienced faculty. The leading university of Northeast India, we handhold you to stay inspired throughout your journey. Your intellect combined with our tutelage will pave a purpose to ideate and innovate. Spread across 27 acres, all schools are equipped with the finest state-of-the-art infrastructure. At Royal Global University, Guwahati, we nurture global citizens. Our placement support ensures quality career and a secured future. You dream, we deliver.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it indeed is an interesting, candid COVID classroom, now isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Our role in an educational institution is to prepare our students to think and make persuasive arguments which force the world to change.
The idea of interwovenness is that the very many concepts that we think are very critical, whether it's a sense of history, whether it's a sense of writing and oral communications, whether it's the fluency with data and digital, the idea of ethical decision making, get introduced, reintroduced, affirmed, reaffirmed in different contexts.
The reason I joined CREA is because I wanted to study and experience a multitude of subjects at the same time. I've already seen how subjects interweave. For instance, scientific reasoning interweaves with philosophy, social and historical interweaves with data analytics.
At CREA, we're looking at history as central to understanding social change. We want students to be able to appreciate the intellectual evolution of different disciplines, whether mathematical or scientific, literary or philosophical.
At the end of the writing and oral communications course, students are writing in ways that are thoughtful, complex and nuanced.
I have changed from writing I feel, I think statements to writing arguments well substantiated with evidence and text.
The creative expression course demands that students think differently, out of the box, in a way that they have never done before.
the first trimester, we were given projects such as making our own raps and making our own podcasts. And we did all of this in our media lab. And our media lab's been fully equipped with virtual reality equipment, which we play around with, whether it be games or even painting around.
The foremost principle that we had in mind while designing student life was self-governance or self-curation. So we had to wait for the students to really come into our campus and work with us to co-create the student life experience.
The favorite part about life at Kriya is the friendly environment that is being created among students, faculty and other members living in the campus. Each and every person over here is encouraged to voice their own opinions.
All I'm trying to do is simply expose people to just the kinds of experiences that I've had, for which I'm extraordinarily grateful to a lot of people, starting with parents and just a lot of others giving me that space.
Sri City is a great place for outdoor activities. The Satavedu forest is just a couple of kilometers in that direction, and the Pulikat lake is about 5-6 kilometers east from where we are. Both of these places are very nice hiking trails and biking trails. So overall here we can plan a lot of great outdoor activities.
We at Kriya take a lot of pride in having sports and well-being as an integral part of our culture. The enthusiasm the students have been showing is very, very positive.
When I'm not in class, there are so many other things to do. Right from thought-provoking and challenging assignments, guest lectures, and various other club activities. There's a general culture of being engaged with the world at large, critical thinking and respectful discourse, which I feel add a great deal of value outside the classroom. I would recommend Kriya to anybody who would like an education that pushes them to evolve at an individual level.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Now let's go back to our new normal candid COVID classroom and join Chetan Sharma, founder of Edumate.tv, in conversation with industry, domain experts, principals and university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Now, we're going to go across to each of our panelists. I'm going to give each of you just 1 minute as a closing comment, and I'd like to encourage each of you to bring in a couple of solutions. Start with you first, Professor Singh. You'll be given 2 minutes because you were the one who spent a little lesser time in the initial part. Please go ahead by telling us what are the unique measures which Royal Global University has taken in the field of online education.
Online education is concerned, I've already spoken about it. For the hybrid education in the time when we are going to have post-COVID or maybe new normal, once we live with COVID and we have some kind of issues with respect to social distancing and other things, I think it's going to be a very challenging time. And for Royal Global University, the problem will not be much in my opinion, because most of the students and their families, they are having all the required physical infrastructure for hybrid education. And we at Royal Global University, our teachers are being well groomed and trained for hybrid education. And they are very, very competent. I would say this 80-90 days have given them enough opportunity to learn. They have attended many webinars. So these teachers are trained, infrastructure is there, infrastructure there at the university level, infrastructure is available. So I mean, I think by and large, I would say that it is going to be a very, very easy thing for me, and we can blend it in a manner so that we can have morning classes and evening students are studying at home few subjects. Whatever subjects is possible for us to teach online, we will teach those subjects online. Whatever subjects we require to bring them to the university, we will bring the students to the university for practical classes, behavioral science classes, communicative English, practice, and so on and so forth. It's not a difficult time for us. But however, as far as total education system is concerned, I think I have just taken a lead because many things are known to us and we are talking a lot of things about rote learning. So I would say that students and teachers, I'm basically a geologist. Fortunately, I got a chance to travel to, for a field visit every year. It was a yearly system at our time. And I think the most of the education of mine has been done while I was on a tour of 15 days to 1 month during my geology days. And I think CBSE, or for that matter, university, should make it compulsory that each and every student, even if they are in the blending mode, whenever the normalcy comes in, because from Gurukul to school to the family, gradually we are squeezing it. I mean, from earlier students used to go to Gurukul, they used to live there and study, but then they have come to the school system. Now from school to going back to the families and learning, I don't think so this is going to stay and this is going to survive. It has to come back to the same normalcy with more vibrancy, more advantages of hybrid, as well as bringing more new ideas into it, so that the students are not learning for job or my employability. I don't give much importance to the employability part. Skilling and employability should be overridden by learning and lifelong learning. If a learner and a person's attitude, behavior, and he or she is able to adapt to any situation whenever it comes to you, maybe COVID or maybe anything else in due course of life, and if he or she is a lifelong learner, there will be no problem. Education should be for lifelong learning, not for a particular skilling and employability.
First of all, as I said, and as it has been already pointed out, that it is very difficult, but then we have to do somehow. A mechanism has to be worked out, taking advantage of the COVID situation, to train professional teachers. To my mind, having spent 42 years, 3 years in teaching, all my life almost, I have the conviction that a teacher evolves. A teacher gradually evolves, but then now we have to train people because we are going for a synergy with the technology. So that organic relation will be only partial, and for that, to that extent, I think we have to train professionally the teachers. And please take note, Chetanji, that I think teachers are the only professionals who can go straight after their educational journey. Whether it is MSc, MA or PhD, they can straight go to the classroom and teach if they are eligible by the standard qualifications. For all other, they have to go through some kind of probationary periods, whether it is a legal profession, medical profession, chartered accountancy, and so on and so forth. So we have to change. This is one mechanism. Second, we have to really, for a country as large as India, we have to contextualize our content, as I have said earlier. We cannot have a common set of educational programs, and that has to be done at the local levels. And the third, of course, apart from the digital thing, we have to go for other means like radio and all that. But also, here is an opportunity to again look back at ourselves and rebuild, reinvigorate the family as an institution of learning also. Because most of the things in our childhood we learn from the family. So these are larger issues, and we have to do that. And as Anurag Tripathi ji has very rightly mentioned, it is time we should take the classroom out of the classroom so that the joy of learning can be there.
Three important चीजें online classes को लेकर के बोली. Number one, train your teachers. आप अपने टीचर्स की कैपेसिटी बढ़ाइए, उन्हें ट्रेंड करिए. ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन डिफरेंट माध्यम से डिफरेंट पेडागोजी में उनको ट्रेंड करिए. नंबर टू, इन्वॉल्व योर पेरेंट्स एज ए सुपरवाइजर. आपके घर स्कूल हो गए हैं, आपके पेरेंट्स सुपरवाइज करें कि बच्चा वो लर्निंग आउटकम ले रहा है कि नहीं और स्कूल द्वारा दिए गए असाइनमेंट को पूरा कर रहा है कि नहीं. एंड थर्ड, असाइन प्रोजेक्ट्स टू ऑल स्टूडेंट्स फॉर रियल असेसमेंट. आप रोट लर्निंग के क्वेश्चन और जो आपके क्वेश्चन पे आंसर लेते तो उसको छोड़ दीजिए, आप शिफ्ट करिए प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड असेसमेंट पे, क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड असेसमेंट सेल्फ ओरिएंटेड लर्निंग, इनोवेटिवनेस, क्रिएटिवनेस को पाने का बेस्ट तरीका है. These are the 3 suggestions.
Teachers should be the facilitators and guide, not to be a teacher in teaching A to Z. They have to be the facilitator only. Blended and hybrid education is here to stay as the best form of education, and government and NGOs to help in making these smartphones or the laptops a little cheaper, or some discounts will be given to the students.
The basic difference, the primary difference between classroom learning and e-learning is कि हम रसगुल्ला तो e-learning में कहा सकते हैं, लेकिन उसके टेस्ट को हम e-learning में नहीं बता सकते हैं. Different tastes of रसगुल्ला sweets you can get only by testing it, और ये available आपको skill learning जो मिलेगी classroom में उसी से होगी. You can get only from there. So e-learning cannot be an alternative to this, and COVID I hope will end. E-learning with classroom learning can make a whole man, because education is the process of preparing a whole man.
Internet facility, I think that is the first step towards a blended learning which can become more effective. Secondly, CBSE has actually brought out a notification, or rather a kind of circular, maybe a month back, asking schools to educate the parents and let the parents become the teachers for the students at home. And I think that is a very important instruction from the board, that the parents themselves should become teachers. And at any point of time, whenever blended learning happens, parents should be there to motivate them, to look after them, and also parents should help the students to learn the things the way that is expected.
First off, because everything hangs on the educators at the moment, and back home, it's also the parents who have to monitor and see that they are supervising the children's work, which has already been told. And thirdly, I also feel that school management officers and all should also be equipped and trained to monitor as well as to assess and evaluate how the online classes are going on. So a mechanism for that also should come up, I feel.
I often say that we've been hit by a pandemic. It's called the Big C, COVID. And to address the Big C, in the words of all our speakers, if I have to wrap it up, you need 3 C's. You've got to be collective, you've got to be corrective, and you've got to be creative. So thank you for choosing that and that path of progress. And as I always say to end off, to better educate, you'd better edumate.
And what is it that's required to make our education system more skewed towards employability?
Many engineers who are employed, they are not employable. That means there is something wrong with our education system. So education has to be, the magic word is relevance. What you teach them, what they learn has to be relevant at that particular point of time.
How much do you think, I mean, you of course, you're a young minister yourself and you interact with the youth all the time. Where do you feel that their pain points are at this time?
We are still following the British system of education. Up to some extent it is right, but completely it may not be correct, because many of our young minds, our people are working in Houston, in NASA. Many are employed in other countries. So if we were to produce, our system is just to produce clerks, they would have not been working there. So that may not be completely correct, but change is the only permanent thing. So India is not behind. We are also, moving very far, very fast. I have a dream. You see, students, they go from the village to the city for studies. From the cities, they go to abroad. They go abroad for studies. Do you see anybody coming from abroad to study in the city, or anybody from the city to the village? No. Why? So my dream is, I would like to bring people from city for studies to the rural area and the village. That is my dream.
बोर्ड एग्जाम से याद है सबको अपने अपने? बोर्ड एग्जाम्स का एक अनरिटन रूल था, राइट? जितने मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन है उतना लंबा आंसर लिखना है. Like if the question is, why did Ram kill Ravan? And if it's for 2 marks, then Ram killed Ravan because Ravan kidnapped Sita. But if it's for 5 marks, then once upon a time there's a king named Ram. If it's for 10 marks, then once upon a time there's a king named Dasharath. If it's for 15 marks, then India is a secular country. We follow many religions. फिर ज्योग्राफी में मैप पकड़ा देते थे, उसमें कुछ भी चीजें मार्क करवा रहे. मार्क 2 places in India where gold is found. अबे पता तो वहीं चले जाता मैं. यहाँ कलम नहीं घिस रहा होता. तो मैंने मार्क्स लिख दिया मन्नापुरम फाइनेंस, मुथूट फाइनेंस. उसके बाद में ऐसे राइटिंग, वहां पे कुछ भी ऐसे लिखवा रहे हैं. इफ आई वर द प्राइम मिनिस्टर. ये ऐसे है कि अडवाणी जी की आत्मकथा. उसके बाद में सबसे गंदा क्वेश्चन, सबसे वाहियात क्वेश्चन, लेटर राइटिंग. उसमें कुछ भी लेटर लिखवा रहे तुमसे. राइट एन इनफॉर्मल लेटर टू ए सिस्टर टेलिंग हर द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ गुड़ी पाड़वा. अबे नहीं पता यार मेरे को इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ गुड़ी पाड़वा. और पता भी है तो लेटर क्यों लिखूंगा? मेरी सिस्टर में घर पे रहती है. वो पोस्टमैन कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा, टू और फ्रॉम सेम एड्रेस से चल क्या रहा है इनका. सेम घर से झोला लेके निकल रहा हूं, सेम घर वापस आ रहा हूं. यही काम बचा है क्या मेरे को? बट फिर मैं देखा लेटर 15 मार्क्स के लिए था. और मार्क्स के लिए मैं कुछ भी कर सकता हूं. तो मैंने लिखना शुरू कर दिया गुड़ी पाड़वा पे. डियर सिस्टर, इंडिया इज अ सेक्युलर कंट्री. वी फॉलो मेनी रिलीजन्स.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is a very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Dr. Muthu Vinay, Pro Vice Chancellor, ITFA University. An exclusive conversation of insights and inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has become critical times in the education field, particularly when the COVID environment has taken over our lives and has put us in a bit of a spot. In fact, several spots. And this is the time when history has been written across the geography of Mother Earth, making us reboot, rethink before we rebuild a very new future. Education has had its unique sets of challenges and solutions which are now becoming the new normal. And to discuss that and much more, we put ourselves at the spot. And we'd like to resort and take views from those who've been at the helm of it all, the wise men, the wise chancellors. Hello and welcome to the Vice Chancellor Show. Today a very special guest all the way from a beautiful place in Dehradun. The ITFA University, heading that is Dr. Muthu Vinay, PhD MSc, and he's the Dean IBS and the Pro VC at the University of ITFA in Dehradun. He's had 30 years of experience in education, training, planning, management, and consultancy, known to establish organizations and lead them to excellence. That's been the brand motto of Dr. Vinay. Well, currently he's an expert peer committee member, National Board of Accreditation, the Government of India, New Delhi. He's also been the chairman of the IQAC, that's the International Quality Assessment Cell, the proctor in the University of California, the Berkeley Extension. He spearheaded several postgraduate programs in collaboration with reputed schools in India, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Singapore, as well as Malaysia. He's been an expert member of various professional organizations that include higher education, the UK India Education Research Initiative, the UKIERI, the World Bank, as well as MHRD. What a pleasure to have you, sir, on our show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
COVID has put to test everything that we learned in the past and threatens to distort a lot we anticipate in the future. What's your take?
See, as far as ICFI Dehradun is concerned, and when this COVID had attacked in the month of March, and on March 21st, the government of Uttarakhand told that all the educational institutions should be closed, and it is only lockdown period. I think we have not had any issues with the COVID because the technology has made us the better than what we are in the face-to-face.
But sir, technology at your end may be good. But that having been said, look at the external environment, and this country is facing problems not just because you can disseminate through technology, but it requires all your students, and several of them, of course, will be living in rural India as well, to have devices to receive the technology, which unfortunately is not the case. And the sinister digital divide looms large in front of us.
Chetan, I agree with your point, which most of the population of India is rural, that's 80% and 20%. We have around 2,000 students. We have 4 schools. So there's a ICFI Business School, ICFI Law School, ICFI Tech School, and ICFI Education School. Almost all 95% of the students are outside Uttarakhand. Out of the 95%, there are certain students are there in the remote areas. In the starting, we faced the problems with the students who are in the rural areas where they cannot connect the bandwidth or they don't have the internet. In this technology world, everybody has a smartphone, but some of them does not know how to use it completely. So what we did in this regard, the 20% of the students were not able to have this technology completely. We've trained them in the different tools. So we have identified the people who are not having the technology, which they are not able to reach. We have taken the 20% and we have taken that separately, and we made the other alternatives to get the knowledge to them.
That's interesting. And the model of having most of your students from outside Uttarakhand is also very interesting. Perhaps makes a lot of sense, given that, people from across the country flock to various places to study, not just in India, even overseas. And of course, Dehradun is a beautiful valley to be there. So obviously it would be very encouraging. But that having been said, I'm not quite sure if the Uttarakhand government would be very happy about that, because they obviously also want a lot of Uttarakhand local residents to be studying. That's one. And second, do you see this strategy being challenged? Because most of the university heads I've spoken to this time suggest that post-COVID, people would try to would stay within their own confines once they've gone back home. They'd like to seek education in their own states, in their own environment. And because just like the migrant labor crisis, the migrant students would also somewhere down the line have some kind of a mental block. That's what most of them fear. And in that environment, would that be a serious challenge for you?
In my everywhere where I talk, quality makes the difference. Okay, if an institution gives the quality, you don't have the boundaries. The people are. I give a live example of ICFI Business School, where we have the MBA. You know that ICFI Business School is one of the top in the world.
Without a doubt.
Now, at present, we have started already the classes from June 1st. And believe it or not, we have completed the admissions, 150. Out of 150, again, and my point here is, almost all 90% of the students from outside. And we started the classes, and online classes are going on very well. And all 150 students are attending the online classes till the government regulations gives us to ask the face-to-face class. This is a live example I'm telling you. Second live example I will tell you, we have completed 100 admissions
and we have intake is only, and we are not taking the admission both in a ICFI business school and education school. Again, education school, most of the students are from outside. So this is, I think, your example makes very clearly, quantity is not the important. So when you have a quality, automatically the student never sees that where I am going. And as far as the COVID is concerned regarding the admissions, we have till now not had that issue of the admissions. And the students are very happy. The intra-session sessions are happening. Okay, the assessments are happening. Whatever it is, the case studies are happening for the B school and all the things. There is no change in that completely.
That's extremely encouraging and extremely reassuring, not just for students, but for parents as well as the teaching fraternity, as well as other universities. In fact, the lesson out there is that it's important to build yourself to a brand of reputation and build your credibility, because eventually then wherever you are, whatever be the situation, students will come to you. If not offline, at least online. Talk us through this strategy of ICFI. ICFI, of course, has been a signature organization. I'm very well conversant with its history, and which really makes us actually feel that we can build institutions like this going forward. We have to look even beyond the IITs and the IIMs and build institutions like ICFI. So tell us what the USPs are, please.
The USP of ICFI is very clear, is the teaching and learning. ICFI Business School is one of the best business schools in the world to publish case studies. I think last, if you couple of months, if you see in the news, we have got a lot of awards in the case study. ICFI University Dehradun is the only university which has ranked 44th in the world out of 50 in industrial application, which was published by WURI, W-U-R-I, World Universities Ranking Institutions.
ICFI has been an institution of highest repute. It's got this country, a lot of pride, not just because of the quality it's imparted, but also the way it's grown, and it's grow, in all remote areas, thereby making education inclusive in this country. And that's something that really fascinates me as an individual, as a professional, as somebody who's been studying education as a vertical, and makes me very proud. But particularly in Dehradun, what would you say is the USP of the institute? Which are the courses, and how are you looking at future courses? Because the new normal, which is now unfolding as I speak, is about very differentiated courses, more about sustainability, a lot of new things, artificial intelligence, robotics, and what.
So I was this in ICFI University Dehradun in 2018 as a Pro Vice Chancellor. Now I'm the Vice Chancellor. See, what I see in the sustainability is very important in every area. The engineering courses there is a lot of downfall completely. In Dehradun, the courses which are sustainable, because we don't have more courses, because we in a university, we wanted to have less courses, give the quality, make the sustain, then go. For example, we have a B school. In the B school, we have MBA and BBA. And ICFI University Dehradun is specialized in the law. ICFI Law School is one of the premier of law school. We have more than 1,300 students in the law school. So that is a USP of our law. And believe it or not, the Dehradun has is the education hub. So we have a top universities like you have UPSC, you have a Graphicara, you have a DIT and all the things. More than 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh students coming from outside. I'm telling, only Dehradun. And you have less students of local. What I was telling that less students of locals.
You mentioned something very beautiful a little while back, which is from the founder of ICFI, when he said, our motto is to teach and learn. It reflects humility. It reflects the quest for knowledge. It reflects of the constant need to keep upgrading yourself and updating yourself. This environment, what would be your advice to to various sections of the edu ecosphere? the students, be the teachers, and see the parallel VCs like yourself?
We should not compromise with authority. The latest what is happening should be about what I say, that academic industry orientation. You have to build the students what the industry wants completely. It is not that when I studied in 1980, the same thing should be done into that completely. You should be with the environment. What is going on? For example, I will tell you, I am in Dehradun. So I have to see to that what I need for a Dehradun students to be done and what is the environment I do. I should not compare with the Bangalore metropolitan city. So the Dehradun is in Himalayas. It's a good, what we started with, it's a good environment, it's a good mountains and all the things. Yes. So how you make your education in this year completely and give the value system to the students, what industry wants. See, every student want his career. If he's joining an MBA program by paying 10 lakhs, he wanted the career should be there. He wanted the placement should be there. But the placement only comes when he is fit for the industry, not industry of 20 years back. The industry, the latest environment, what are the tools are there, we have to give.
I think that's a beautiful point, and that's one of our mottos at Edumate.tv is employability. If I put whatever you said in one word, I mean, this country is not just suffering from employment; it's suffering from the more dreaded and the more sinister disease, I'd say, of employability. And for that, you need 3 R's. You need to be relevant, you need to be responsive, and you need to be responsible. I mean, all 3 in the same breath. And that's very, very critical. So thank you for highlighting that as well. But you also have the advantage, of having the current HRD minister from your state. Has Dehradun benefited from that in any special way?
We are benefited. And he gives the importance to the state, whichever the education is there, he does that.
We've heard about ICFI. It's a great brand. Most people know of the brand. Now I want to know about the brand called Dr. Muddu. Talk us through your career, which I know has been exemplary. I've just got a few insights which I read out of the initial places. Guide us with that, because a part of this program is not just to to talk to students and to talk to parents and some teachers. It's also to talk to several people who want to follow education as a career path. And for that, people like you are truly inspiration. Talk us through your career.
See, actually, I've gone to the family of teachers. So I can say that I'm particularly, I never say that I'm a vice chancellor, I'm a dean or another thing. I say to everybody, I am normally a teacher, gives the knowledge where the student wants. Basically, I'm the son of a teacher. My father is Dr. Vishnath Muddu. He's he was a dean in Usmania University College of Education. Basically, I'm from Hyderabad. And I'm having more than 30 years of experience in the education only. I've not changed everything, but I've moved different states and I've moved outside the country. I established 2 international B schools. Before this assignment, I was in Presidency College, one of the renowned university in Bangalore for 8 years. And I've been responsible to get the NAC accreditations, both A and A+ to the Presidency College. That Presidency College has been converted to the private university, wherein I was involved to get the university to that completely. When I was in Presidency College, because I'm the fan of NJSSP. I also worked previously with the NJY director. The senior management had requested me that why don't you come to the ICFI back and we want you to develop this ICFI Dehradun. Then I joined as a Pro-Vice Chancellor in ICFI Dehradun in 2018 and first studied the environment. Because at that time there were a lot of issues which are happening completely. So it took for me 2 years to make the ICFI University the quality brand. June 11th, we got the world ranking 44. I've been in the National Board of Accreditations. I think I visited more than 50 business schools, that also top business schools like V School in Mumbai and BeamTech in Noida. Wherever I go to the institutions as a peer committee expert member, I take the USP of that institution, what development they have done, what are the initiatives they have done completely. Then I try to execute. I am not a person who read and do it. That is my USP. I am positive oriented towards the staff. Because today, in any industry or anything, team is where it gives a success. My first importance is to my team. Whatever they wanted, I will try to give to them first. Then I will extract it. Today, the university, we got a lot of ranks. NAC has been accredited for us completely, and we are world ranked. This is because of my all team members of ICFAI, Dehradun faculty, and the staff completely.
Everything that you've said points out to the traits of a true leader. And it's quite remarkable to hear those words. Exactly what any script of leadership would tell you, Dr. Mudhu. So thank you for highlighting that as well. I'm going to take a couple of questions before we end the show. What, from your point of view, is the most critical gap in India's education system? I mean, people have talked about COVID being a crisis, but every crisis throws an opportunity. There's no doubt about the fact that India's education system, by and large, had become irrelevant for several people, for the reasons that you mentioned. It is irrelevant to provide jobs. This is an opportunity as well. So where do you think are the biggest gaps right now?
You see, I'm not comparing with the top institutions of IIMs, IITs, the higher education system which we take home is commercialization. Out of, I think, 100% which are talking only the institutions, in that around 60% of the institutions are only run by the political people. They do for the business only. I'm very frank. Whoever teaches, they're not given the respect which they wanted completely. They're not trained properly. Believe it or not, Chetan, I've seen the institutions faculty members, because I visit a lot of institutions. The faculty members does not know the learning outcomes. What is the outcome of any course? Recently, 6 months back only, the UGC has implemented outcome-based learning. Almost all 70% of the faculty members does not know the learning outcomes and how the outcomes are measured. Make the student what he wants. So you know that the outcomes are assessed by certain tools. The tools has to be such a way that the student should get the learning. Then only your success in the outcome. So what we have in our system, you have only the examination system. Class में पढ़ाओ, exam लिखो, 80%, 90% लाओ, बाहर है तो nil completely. The same thing is happening in private institutions also, private universities in India. We have around 945 or 50 private universities. You can only say that around 200 to 300 universities, yes. This is my personal visit to the institutions, and I visit, and I also tell them very clearly, these are the things you have to make a company.
Well, thank you for pointing out two very frank and brilliant, I'd say, very insightful points. One is the dangerous alignment between politics and education, which is actually done a disservice to the entire sector, not just in terms of disengaging with the students at the level that they should be, but also being irresponsible in not partaking the kind of education they should be at the right price and with the right values. I think it's very, very important point. And the second point which you made was to highlight the over-theorizing of our education system and not aligning it with the practical needs. So thank you for that as well. From my point of view, when you build the character of a nation, it's very important to first build the character of its students, of its citizens. Do you think that the education system invokes character building?
I cannot say that 100%. it makes sense. It makes sense.
One final word of yours, your message, your advice to the students and the teachers, the fraternity at large, and your final word for our initiative at Edumate.tv.
My final word is, knowledge is the basis of action. Action is the basis of achievement. Achievement is the basis of the fulfillment. When you have a knowledge, it should be action. When you have action, you have achieved something. When you have achieved, you have fulfilled your dreams. I think there is a good initiative by you getting into your education, because nobody has done the privately. Nobody has come forward. It's a good initiative to come out as an educational TV with a quality perspective.
Thanks for watching this live broadcast on Edumate.tv. Stay logged on to www.edumate.tv for all the latest news and analysis from the world of higher education. And do remember, to educate better, you better edumate.